December 7th, 1941, dawned like any other Sunday in Honolulu, Hawaii. The sun rose over the Pacific, casting a warm glow on the island. At Pearl Harbor, the U.S. naval base, ships rested peacefully in the calm waters. Sailors enjoyed their breakfast, unaware of the impending horror. Within hours, everything would change. The world would hold its breath. This is the story of Pearl Harbor, a day forever etched in history as a symbol of surprise attack and unfathomable loss. It is a story of war and peace, of courage and resilience. This essay will delve into the events leading up to that fateful day, exploring the political and military factors that set the stage for conflict. We will witness the attack itself, a meticulously planned operation that brought the horrors of war to American soil. The immediate aftermath, the shock, the grief, and the resolute response of a nation thrust into global conflict will be examined. Finally, we will explore the long-term consequences of Pearl Harbor, its impact on global politics, and its enduring legacy in military history. To understand the attack on Pearl Harbor, we must first journey back to the years preceding World War II. The world was in turmoil. The Great Depression had crippled economies worldwide, fostering instability and resentment. In Europe, Adolf Hitler's Nazi Germany was rising in power, its expansionist ambitions threatening the delicate balance of peace. Across the globe, Japan, under the militaristic rule of Emperor Hirohito, harbored its own imperial ambitions. Japan, a small island nation with limited natural resources, sought to expand its influence throughout Asia. It craved raw materials, oil being paramount among them, to fuel its growing industrial and military might. The United States, with its vast territories and abundant resources, became a focal point of Japanese interest. However, America's presence in the Pacific, particularly its naval base at Pearl Harbor, was seen as a significant obstacle to Japan's imperial aspirations. From Japan's perspective, the United States represented a formidable obstacle to their expansionist goals in Asia. The U.S. controlled the Philippines, a strategically important archipelago in close proximity to Japan's sphere of influence. Moreover, America's economic sanctions against Japan, imposed in response to Japan's aggression in China, were crippling the Japanese economy. The Japanese military leadership, driven by a potent mix of nationalism and a belief in their own racial superiority, viewed the United States as a decadent and weak-willed nation. They believed that a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, crippling the U.S. Pacific Fleet, would force America to negotiate from a position of weakness, allowing Japan to consolidate its hold on Asia unopposed. Despite the escalating tensions, diplomatic efforts continued in a desperate attempt to avert war. However, the chasm between the two nations' positions proved too wide to bridge. The United States demanded that Japan withdraw from China and renounce its expansionist ambitions, demands that the Japanese leadership considered unacceptable. Meanwhile, unbeknownst to the Americans, Japan was meticulously planning its surprise attack on Pearl Harbor. Japanese diplomats in Washington, tasked with prolonging negotiations to buy time for the attack fleet, continued to engage in talks even as the fateful day approached. The stage was set for a day that would live in infamy. December 7th, 1941, dawned as a peaceful Sunday at Pearl Harbor, the largest U.S. naval base in the Pacific. The serene waters of the harbor reflected the clear blue sky, a stark contrast to the storm of steel and fire that was about to be unleashed. Unbeknownst to the unsuspecting Americans, a Japanese fleet, consisting of 6 aircraft carriers, 2 battleships, 2 heavy cruisers, and numerous smaller vessels, stealthily approached the island. At 6 a.m. local time, the first wave of Japanese aircraft, consisting of 183 fighters, bombers, and torpedo planes, took off from their carriers positioned approximately 230 miles north of Oahu. Their target, the heart of the U.S. Pacific Fleet, anchored at Pearl Harbor. The element of surprise was crucial to the Japanese plan, as they aimed to deliver a swift and decisive blow that would cripple American naval power in the Pacific. At 7:55 a.m., the first wave of Japanese aircraft descended upon Pearl Harbor, unleashing a rain of fire and destruction. The surprise was complete. American sailors, many still enjoying their Sunday breakfast, were caught off guard. Battleship Arizona, moored on Battleship Row, was struck by an armor-piercing bomb that detonated its forward magazine, resulting in a catastrophic explosion. The attack, lasting just over 2 hours, targeted battleships, aircraft carriers, and airfields, crippling American air power and sinking or damaging numerous ships. The second wave of the attack commenced at 8:40 a.m., further intensifying the assault on the harbor. Amidst the chaos and carnage, acts of extraordinary courage and sacrifice unfolded as American sailors and soldiers fought back with whatever they could muster. The smoke cleared to reveal a scene of utter devastation. Battleship Row, once a symbol of American naval might, was a smoldering ruin. The USS Arizona, its hull shattered, lay submerged, a watery grave for over 1,100 sailors. In total, 2,403 Americans lost their lives in the attack on Pearl Harbor, including 1,177 sailors aboard the USS Arizona. The attack on Pearl Harbor sent shockwaves throughout the United States and the world. The unprovoked assault on American soil shattered the nation's sense of security and isolationism. The day after the attack, President Franklin D. Roosevelt addressed a joint session of Congress, his voice heavy with emotion, declaring December 7, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. Section 8. America Responds, A Nation United. The attack on Pearl Harbor galvanized the American public. The nation, united in grief and outrage, rallied behind President Roosevelt's call to arms. On December 8, 1941, the United States Congress declared war on Japan, officially bringing America into World War II. The United States, once hesitant to get involved in another global conflict, was now fully committed to defeating the Axis powers. Factories across the country shifted to wartime production, churning out tanks, planes, ships, and munitions. Millions of Americans answered the call to duty, enlisting in the armed forces, determined to avenge the lives lost at Pearl Harbor. Section 9. The war's impact, global consequences. The attack on Pearl Harbor had profound consequences for the course of World War II and the global order that emerged in its aftermath. It brought the United States, with its vast industrial and military might, fully into the war on the side of the Allied powers, ultimately tipping the balance in their favor. The war in the Pacific raged for nearly 4 years, marked by brutal island-hopping campaigns and devastating naval battles. The dropping of atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945 finally brought an end to the conflict. Japan surrendered unconditionally on September 2, 1945. Section 10. Pearl Harbor's Legacy, Remembrance, and Reflection. The legacy of Pearl Harbor continues to resonate today. The USS Arizona Memorial, built over the wreckage of the sunken battleship, stands as a solemn reminder of the lives lost and the sacrifices made on that fateful day. It serves as a place of remembrance, reflection, and education, ensuring that the lessons of Pearl Harbor are not forgotten. Pearl Harbor serves as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of unchecked aggression and the importance of diplomacy in maintaining peace. It also highlights the importance of vigilance and preparedness, even in times of apparent peace. Section 11. Conclusion, Lessons Learned, History Remembered. The attack on Pearl Harbor was a pivotal moment in American and world history. It shattered the illusion of American isolationism, thrusting the nation into a global conflict that would reshape the world order. The lessons learned from Pearl Harbor, the importance of diplomacy, the need for vigilance, and the indomitable spirit of a nation united in the face of adversity, continue to shape American foreign policy and national identity. As we commemorate the anniversary of this tragic event, we remember the lives lost and honor the sacrifices made. We reflect on the lessons learned and strive to create a more peaceful and just world, where such acts of aggression are never again repeated. For in the words of philosopher George Santayana, those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it.